All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Carla Carter. I'll be the host slash moderator for this Basics and Foundations class tonight, hosted by Meridian Soul School of the Highest Learning. And we're going to go ahead and get started with the prayer and then jump right into our lesson. So, that being said, Amber, are you able to lead us in prayer tonight?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's bow our hearts and minds for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Yahweh, we thank you for allowing us to assemble here in this manner again. We pray that you limit distractions and allow us to receive those things that you have prepared for us to see and understand on the Basics and Foundations call tonight. Yahweh, we pray and ask that you continue to give us grace and mercy and the strength to withstand the wiles of the adversary in these last days and times. Yahweh, we ask that you continue to comfort each and every one of the sons and knowing that you are in control of all things and there is nothing outside of your purpose and your plan that's working together for the good of those who love you. And with these blessings and many others, I ask in your son's name, Yahshua the Messiah. Let us all say hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All right, very good. Thank you, Amber. Okay, our lesson. So, to recap, we started out beginning at Moses. Is the whole theme of the Basics and Foundation class. And so we begin at the third chapter of Exodus, and we read all the way to, we got till the part of in 24:16 of Exodus where the cloud covered it 6 days when Moses went up into the top of the mount. Um, and that was his second trip. So, of course, the first trip, if you guys remember, was Exodus, the 19th chapter, when Moses went up onto the plateau of Mount Sinai, and Yahweh spoke to him and told him to tell the children of Israel to clean up because in 3 days he was going to speak to them, and that was on June the 3rd. And then second trip, Exodus 24:16 is where we started at. And once we got there, we went to Genesis, the first chapter, to pick up the 7 days of creation that he saw within those 40 days and 40 nights he was at the top of the mount. And as we read Genesis first chapter, we went back to Exodus the 25th chapter and read all the way till we got to the 34th chapter of Exodus. And then once we got to the 34th chapter, when Moses was called back up into the mount for the third time, for him to hew out two more tables of stones like the first two that he break when he came down from the mount and they built the golden calf, then that's where we go back to Genesis, the second chapter, and read all the way up to Exodus, the second chapter, to pick up what he was shown in the third vision for those 40 days, the third trip, those 40 days and 40 nights. And so we're finishing that up, the third trip up. And so our assignment this class was to finish reading Genesis, the 41st chapter, up through Exodus, the second chapter. And the way we've been doing this particular session of it, we just read the chapters together and kind of break them down together. That being said, who would like to go first in helping us read Genesis, the 41st chapter? Uh-oh. For the sake of time, I'll read the first chapter. Normally, my readers aren't on here yet. Hopefully, they'll help us. Amber sometimes helps. All right, Genesis 41st chapter. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke. And he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream. But there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put them in ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew servant to the captain of the guard, and we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. Elohim shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kinds, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kinds came up after them, poor and very ill-favored and lean flesh, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kind did eat up the first 7 fat kinds. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored, as at the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin, and blasted, with the east wind sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it to me. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. Elohim hath showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kinds are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kind that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What Elohim is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by Elohim, and Elohim will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 20th years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the city. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the spirit of Elohim is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as Elohim hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had. And they cried before him, Bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. 1,000 me, wow. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. And in the 7 years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same. And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number. And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. For Elohim, said he, hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim. For Elohim hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the 7 years of plenteousness that was in the land of Egypt were ended. And the 7 years of dearth began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the dearth was in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph. What he says to you, do. And the famine was all over the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians, and the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all lands. Genesis 41st chapter. Goodness, that's a long one. All right. Out of that one, does anybody have anything they want to share that y'all have showed them or that they saw, or any questions about it? Anybody? So kine, if you guys did not look it up, that's cows or cows. So you had the 7 fat cows and the 7 skinny cows, and the 7 skinny cows ate up the 7 fat cows, and they didn't get any bigger. Same thing with the 7 ears of corn. So that was the dream. Now remember, this was right after the butler and baker got out of prison. So in this first part of it, because it said 2 full years passed, you see the death, burial, resurrection in the 3 with Joseph. And so when he was accused of trying to rape Potiphar's wife, he was accused of sin. That's like a death principle. He was thrown in prison. And with him being in prison, that's like a burial. And so it said when the butler and baker was thrown in prison too, they were in there for a season. A season is 1 year. And so he told the butler and not to forget him when he left out of prison, because he had just interpreted their dreams. But 2 whole years passed by after that, which gives you a total of 3 years before he was actually resurrected out of the house. Out of prison. Anybody else before I finish what I saw? Anybody else got anything?
Let me just say one thing. I noticed that when this famine in his dream, there was a wind that came from the east. And, you see a parallel there with when Yahweh parted the Red Sea. He parted it with an east wind, strong east wind. And you see not just that, but you see, the East as a principle used repeatedly, in the law and the prophets, beginning with Adam and, on throughout, even with, the birth of Yahshua Messiah. So.
Very good. Can anybody tell me besides Dr. Carter? Does anybody remember how old Joseph was when he was sold into Egypt? Anybody remember? He was 17 when he was sold down into Egypt. And so if he was 17 when he was sold down into Egypt, that means, and he was 30 years old when he went before Pharaoh, he was down in Egypt for 13 years. And now he was in prison 3 of those 13. And so those first 10 years that he was in Egypt, he was there for 10 years first. And then you have the death, burial, resurrection, 3-year principle there. And then he was the age of 30 when he went to Pharaoh to speak before him. Now, Joseph is a type and shadow of Yahshua. And also, Yahshua, the son of Nun, has some similar principles as well. 10 years after Moses fled Egypt is when Yahshua, the son of Nun, showed up down in Egypt and was there for 30 years seeing what was going on with the children of Israel. Now, at the same time, he was 30 years old when they went to Pharaoh to tell them what Yahweh had told them, let my son Israel go. And so Joseph, being 30 years old, when he goes to Pharaoh to interpret Pharaoh's dream, also the parallel that I was looking at too, where was it? Hebrew, I just saw it. I was like, oh, wow. I don't want to hold everybody up. It was something else I saw too that I was like, oh, wow, that's actually another parallel with Joseph and Yahshua, the son of Nun. But anyway, so also his 2 sons that he had, Ephraim and Manasseh, Joshua, the son of Nun, or Yahshua, the son of Nun, was attached to the tribe of Ephraim as well. So that's another, we'll look at that too, hopefully, but I don't want to, we got a lot of chapters to go, so I don't want to take up too much time on that. Anybody else got anything else that they saw in this particular chapter? Any questions about this particular chapter? All right, cool. Let's go to the next chapter. Any of my readers available yet? I know some of y'all jumped on. I don't know who's available to read.
I don't know, 41st, 46.
42? 42nd. Okay.
I read it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Exodus 42nd chapter. Wait, Genesis 42nd chapter. Okay. Let's see. All right. Now, when Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do ye look one upon another? And he said, behold, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, lest peradventure mischief befall him. And the sons of Israel came to buy among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, whence come ye? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, ye are spies. To see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said unto him, nay, my master, but to buy food are thy servants come. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. And he said unto them, nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said, thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not. And Joseph said unto them, that is what I spake unto you, saying, ye are spies. Hereby ye shall be proved. By the life of Pharaoh ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. Send one of you and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you. Or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely ye are spies. And he put them all together into ward 3 days. And Joseph said unto them the third day, This do and live, for I fear Elohim. If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry grain for the famine of your houses. But bring your youngest brother unto me, so shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. And they said one to another, We are barely guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we were not here. Therefore is this distress come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Spake I not unto you, saying, Do not sin against the child, and ye will not hear? Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. And he turned himself about from them and wept, and returned to them again and communed with them, and took from them Simeon, and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with grain, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way. And thus did he unto them. And they laded their asses with grain and departed thence. And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender in the end, he espied his money, for behold, it was in his sack's mouth. And he said unto his brethren, My money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them, and they were afraid, saying one to another, What is this that Elohim hath done unto us? And they came unto Jacob their father unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell unto them, saying, The man who is master of the land spake roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country. And we said unto him, We are true men, we are no spies. We be 12 brethren, sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the master of the country, said unto us, Hereby shall I know that ye are true men. Leave one of your brethren here with me, and take food for the famine of your households, and be gone. And bring your youngest brother unto me. Then shall I know that ye are no spies, but that ye are true men. So will I deliver you your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. And it came to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said unto them, Me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and ye shall take Benjamin away. All these things are upon me. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, Slay my 2 sons, if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee again. And he said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If mischief befall him by the way in the which ye go, then shall ye bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave.
All right, very
Exodus
good.
46.
Genesis. I keep saying
I keep
Exodus
saying
too.
Exodus.
Genesis 42nd chapter. Very good. All right. Anybody have anything on that one? On this particular chapter?
I saw that he put them all together for 3 days. They came back to them on the third day. And I also saw that blood was required, and then in the 24th verse, he wept.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
that's a water principle.
Gotcha.
And they said that
And
they
then
had
also,
that he had an interpreter. So
and then of course with their father, they will bring his gray hairs down to the grave. But so basically what's going on? Remember his dream? Remember the dream that Joseph had back when he was younger, that his brothers envied him for in the first place? He said that he had a dream that the sun and moon and 11 stars had to give obeisance or bow down to him. And so he remembered his dream when he saw his brother. And so they didn't recognize him, but he recognized them. And that was the same thing with Joshua. They didn't know who Joshua the son of Nun was either until Yahweh pointed him out. And then Also with Yahshua the Messiah, they didn't know that he was the Messiah either. And it was the second trip that we're going to read in a minute that he actually made himself known unto them. And so when you look at Yahweh, Elohim, Yahshua, 1, 2, 3, the second or the two as Elohim, that's how Yahweh makes himself known in visions and dreams in that form, Elohim. So I thought that was pretty too, how they didn't know who he was, but he knew who they were. All right, and so he put their money back in their sack. He said, you got to bring your younger brother down to me, or I'm not letting Simeon go, so forth and so on. So they were scared. They put their money back in their sack, so they were afraid to go back down there. And so, anything else? Anybody got anything else on this one before we move to the next one?
Yeah, the dream that Joseph had when they envied him about how they had to bow down to him. And then once they had to come back into Egypt for that food, then even though they didn't know that was Joseph, how Yahweh brought that back to their remembrance, what they had done unto their brother.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so now their conscience is tearing them up.
Mm-hmm.
That's his heart. No, that had to be rough on him. All right.
Yep.
Anybody else got anything on the 42nd chapter? All right. 43rd chapter. We got some ground to cover, so let's keep moving. All right, Genesis 43. And the famine was sore in the land, and it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, Go again, buy us a little food. And Judah spake unto him, saying, The man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, You shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. And Israel said, Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether you had a brother? And they said, The man asked us straightly out of our state and of our kindred, saying, Is your father yet alive? Have ye another brother? And we told him according to the tenor of these words. Could we certainly know that he would say, Bring your brother down? And Judah said unto Israel his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go. This is pretty to me. That we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little one. I will be surety for him. Of my hand shalt thou require him. If I bring him not unto thee and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. For except we had lingered, surely now we had returned there this second time. And their father Israel said unto them, If it must be so now, do this. Take of the best fruits in the land in your vessels, and carry down the manna present, a little balm, and a little honey, spices, and myrrh, nuts, and almonds. And take double money in your hand, and the money that was brought again in the mouth of your sack, carry it again in your hand. Peradventure it was an oversight. Take also your brother, and arise, go again unto the man. And El Shaddai give you mercy before the man, that he may send away your other brother and Benjamin. If I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. And the men took that present, and they took double money in their hand and Benjamin, and rose up and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the ruler of his house, Bring these men home and slay, and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. Oh my goodness, at noon, wow. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, Because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time are we brought in, that he may seek occasion against us and fall upon us and take us for bondmen and our asses. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house, at the door. The steward, oh wow, and said, Oh, sir, we came indeed down at the first time to buy food. And it came to pass, And we came to the end that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight. And we have brought it again in our hand. And other money have we brought down in our hands to buy food. We cannot tell who put our money in our sacks. And he said, Peace be to you. Fear not. Your Elohim and the Elohim of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money. And he brought Simeon out unto them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water. And they washed their feet. And he gave their asses provender. And they made ready the present against Joseph came at noon. For they heard that they should eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to the earth, to him to the earth. And he asked them for their welfare, and said, Is your father well, the old man of whom ye spake? Is he yet alive? And they answered, Thy servant our father is in good health. He is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, Elohim be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. And he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, Set on bread. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians, which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one at another. And he took and sent message unto them from before him, but Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him. Genesis 43rd chapter. All right, what y'all got in this one? Anything in this one? I'll go first. Now, so keep in mind that everything that's written, talking about Yahshua, right? You can pick all these different types and shadows. Now, Joseph was the forerunner that was sent, that Yahweh sent before them to prepare a place for them, that where he was in Egypt, they could be there also. And that's what Yahshua said to his disciples. But then also you have him coming from the tribe of Judah. And his job was to redeem his son, Yahweh's son, or the children of Israel, from the transgression or from their sin. They were supposed to be saved or save Yahweh's son. So with Benjamin, Judah is the one that stood up, and Judah said in the 3rd verse of Genesis 43rd chapter, Judah spake unto him, saying, The man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, Ye shall not see my face. Oh, wait, no, that's right. Let me see. 8th verse. And Judah said unto Israel his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we, my brother, and thou, and also our little ones. I will be surety for him. And so Judah standing up saying, Send him with me, and we will arise and go, so that we may live and not die. That's why Yahshua came in, so that we can have life and not die. I will be surety for him. Of my hand shall thou require him. It was that the Messiah's blood was the only thing that was required for our salvation. If I bring him not unto thee and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. And that's just, Yahshua's supposed to bring us to the Father. So all of that kind of tied in together for me. And then the Egyptians that the brothers were talking to when they were afraid, when they said they were supposed to eat in his house, he said, your Elohim, he's the one that gave you a blessing. Even they're giving glory and reverence to Yahweh, or the Elohim of Jacob, the Elohim of Israel. because they saw Yahweh working too. So I thought that was pretty too. Anything else? Anybody else saw in the 43rd chapter? So we can keep moving. All right. Who wants to read the 44th chapter for me?
I'll get 44 for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. And Genesis 44. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, fill the men's sacks with food as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his sack's mouth. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his coin money. And he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their asses. And when they were gone out of the city and not yet far off, Joseph said to his steward, up, follow after the men, and when thou dost overtake them, say unto them, wherefore have you rewarded evil for good? Is not this it in which my master drinketh, and whereby indeed he divineth? Ye have done evil in so doing. And he overtook them, and he spake unto them these same words. And they said unto him, wherefore saith my master these words? For be it that thy servants should do such thing. Behold, the money which we found in our sacks' mouths, we brought again unto thee out of the land of Canaan. How then should we steal out of thy master's house silver or gold? With whomsoever of thy servants it be found, both let him die, and he also will be my master's bondman. And he said, now also let it be according unto your words. He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless. Then they hurriedly took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And he searched and began at the eldest, and left at the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their clothes and laid every man his ass, and returned to the city. And Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was yet there. And they fell down before him on the ground. And Joseph said unto them, what deed is this that ye have done? Know ye not that such a man as I can certainly divine? And Judah said, what shall we say unto my master? What shall we say unto my master? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? Elohim had found out the iniquity of thy servants. Amen. Elohim hath found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are thy master's servants, both we and he also with whom the cup is found. And he said, far be it from me that I should do so. But the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get ye up in peace unto your father. Then Judah came near unto him and said, O my master, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my master's ears, and let not thine anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. My master asked his servant, saying, have ye a father or a brother? And we said unto my master, we have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age, a little one, and his brother is dead. And he alone is left of his mother, and his father loveth him. And thou saidest unto thy servants, bring him down unto me, that I may set mine eyes upon him. And we said unto my master, the lad cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. And thou sayest unto thy servants, except your youngest brother come down with you, ye shall see my face no more. And it came to pass when we came up into thy servant, up unto thy servant, my father, we told him the words of my master. And our father said, go again and buy us a little food. And he said, and we said, we cannot go down. If our youngest brother be with us, then we will go down, for we may not see the man's face, except our youngest brother be with us. And thy servant, my father, said unto us, ye know that my wife bare me 2 sons. And the one went out from me, and I said, surely he is torn in pieces, and I saw him not since. And if you take this also from me, and mischief befall him, ye shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. Now therefore, when I come to thy servant, my father, and the lad be not with us, seeing that his life is bound up in the lad's life, it shall come to pass when he seeth that the lad is not with us, that he will die. And thy servants shall bring down the gray hairs of thy servant, our father, with sorrow to the grave. For thy servant became surety for the lad unto my father, saying, if I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father forever. Now therefore I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad, a bondman to my master, and let the lad go up with his brethren. For how shall I go up to my father, and the lad be not with me, lest peradventure I see the evil that shall come on my father? That was Genesis 44.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. All right, what you guys got with this one? Anybody got anything in this one? What you guys got? Mhm. I was looking at how, am I gonna be the only one talking tonight? Good. I was looking at how, Yahshua fulfilled, to me, looks like to me he fulfilled it. That was part of it to me. And that will be in Matthew, the 17th chapter. Let's see. Let me start 24th verse. And see if this kind of ties in for you. And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, does not your master pay tribute? He said, yes. And when he was come into the house, Yahshua prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children or of strangers? Peter saith unto him, of strangers. Yahshua saith unto him, then are the children free. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea and cast an hook and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. Take that and give unto them for me and thee. And so when the children of Israel, when their father saw, told them to take, the money that was in their sack's mouth, they were to take that money and give it, and then also take, more money too to give it for them as well. So that came to mind when we were reading that. Anything else in the 44th chapter? They surely did have to bow down to him. So what do you think Joseph was trying to do with having his people set them up like that? What do y'all think he was trying to do?
I'm not completely sure. I was wondering the same thing myself. But yeah, I'm not completely sure.
It looked like to me that his intentions at first was just to get his brother down so him and his brother could be together in Egypt because he was missing his brother. But how Yahweh had it set up for all of them to come down. But to me, it seems like, that's why he asked him, like, okay, well, you got to bring your brother down here. And if y'all want to, see my face again and get food. And it's when he did get him down there, then he set them up so that Benjamin could be, take the blame for taking his cup. And like, oh, no, y'all free to go to y'all father, but he got to be my servant, just to kind of have his brother with him, is what it looked like to me he was trying to do. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, to me, it also looks like he was trying to bring it to their remembrance, the dream that their brother Joseph had. They're not knowing that was Joseph, but they was trying to prick their minds, as it were, because they are in fact bowed down to him, not knowing that that's their younger brother that they sold.
Mm-hmm. True. Yep. Especially in the 4th verse where he said, "Wherefore have you rewarded evil for good?" And he wasn't talking about just that incident, because they didn't do anything in that incident, but back when they sold him, rewarded evil for good. And that's what they said. And I think in the 42nd chapter, the lad, was trying to show us something and we didn't hear him, and we, mistreated him. Yep. Very good. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Anybody else got anything before we go to the next chapter? All right, 42. We got a few more chapters to go, so let's get to it. All right, Genesis 45. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, "Cause every man to go out from me." And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, "I am Joseph. Does my father yet live?" And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brethren, "Come near to me, I pray you." And they came near, and he said, "I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither. For Elohim did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet are there 5 years in the which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. And Elohim sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me hither, you better say it, Joseph, but Elohim. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord or master of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus said thy son Joseph, Elohim hath made me master of all Egypt, or governor of all Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not, and thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me. Wow. Thou and thy children, and thy children's children, and thy flocks, and thy herds, and all that thou hast. And there will I nourish thee, for yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household, and all that thou hast, come to poverty. And behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaketh unto you. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that ye have seen, and ye shall haste and bring down my father hither. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brethren and wept upon them. And after that his brethren talked with him, and the fame thereof was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brethren are come. And it pleased Pharaoh well and his servants. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Say unto thy brethren, do ye, lay your beasts, and go, get you unto the land of Canaan, and take your father and your household, and come unto me, and I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and ye shall eat the fat of the land. Now thou art commanded, this do ye, take you wagons out of the land of Egypt for your little ones, and for your wives, and bring your father, and come. Also regard not your stuff, for the good of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the children of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provision for their way. So all of them gave each man changes of raiment. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of raiment. And to his father he sent after this manner: 10 asses laden with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she asses laden with corn and bread and meat for his father by the way. So he sent his brethren away, and they departed, and he said unto them, See that ye fall not out by the way. And they went up out of Egypt, and came into the land of Canaan unto Jacob their father, and told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob, their father, revived. And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die. Genesis 45th chapter. All right, what you guys got with this one? I saw some pretty things in this one. Anything else, you guys? Anybody else got anything for this one? I think anybody else got anything. We ain't started yet. Anybody got anything about for this chapter? Micah is going crazy downstairs. All right, first of all, since I'm the only one talking tonight, first of all, the very first verse says, Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him. And he cried, he called everybody to go out. There stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. Now remember, this is Joshua. He's fulfilling everything. So these are types and shadows. And this was the second trip when he revealed himself unto them. And so on the chart, you have 1, 2, and 3. Yahweh, Elohim, Joshua. In this one, this is the only way that they could see him is in vision and revelation. And so it was the second trip that Moses took to Mount Sinai that Yahweh made himself, revealed himself unto Moses in this shape and this form, and gave him the vision that he gave him, and made himself known unto Moses as far as this goes. So I thought that was one thing. Then, so Joseph was 30 years old. Go ahead, Amber, you got a question?
No, I was just going to wait and point out what I saw.
Okay. You want to go now, or you want to wait after?
I think you're about to say it, so go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I just saw that there was a report given that Joseph was alive, just like with the Messiah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty. Mm-hmm. Wow, that is pretty. Mm-hmm. Very good. That's really pretty. Okay. Now, so then, of course, they sold him down into Egypt for 20 pieces of silver. Of course, they sold the Messiah too. But at the age of 30 is when Joseph came to Pharaoh and interpreted his dream. 7 years of plenty passed, so then he's 37, and 2 years into the famine had already passed. And so at the age of 39 years old, he is reunited with his family, his father, his brethren, and all them. Now with Moses grew up in Pharaoh's daughter's house for 39 years. Of course, he was 40 years old when he went amongst the Hebrew brethren, but he was in her household for 39 years because the first year he was weaned, he was in his mom's house. And so then you have 39 more years until he was 40. So 39 years, Moses grew up in the house of Pharaoh's daughter. And then after that 39 years he was there, he wanted to be reunited with his brethren. He'd much rather suffer affliction with his brethren than be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. So Joseph, at the age of 39, was reunited with his family after being in Egypt for, 22 years? 22 years he was in Egypt. With that his brethren sold him when he was 17 years old, and at the age of 39, he's being reunited with his father and brother and his whole household. So I thought that was pretty too. We got 5 more years of famine coming. Oh, let's see what else we got. Anybody else?
I just want to, mine is more of a question, I guess. So in a couple chapters previously, they said that 10 brothers came down into Egypt. And I was looking at a parallel with, years later when they would spy out the land of Canaan. See, they would be, and let me say that Joseph accused them of being, he knew they weren't spies, but he accused them of being spies. But, fast forward, when they were sent to spy out the land of Canaan, you had 10 that was sent there into Canaan land as well. So is there any, because I know, with Yahweh, it's a pattern that's kind of overturning and overturning and overturning. And you see what's, Jerusalem and below is reflective of Jerusalem above and so on and so forth. So when you see the parallels that happen down here, or you see what happened with the children of Israel being delivered from Egypt, can you vice versa see that reflection transpire years earlier, what we're reading now with, the 10 brothers being sent down there, just like, you had 10 being sent to spy out the land of Canaan.
So you had 12 sent to spy out the land of Canaan, and you come up to 10 that brought back the evil report, is what you're talking about?
Thank you for the correction. Sorry, I was
No. So no. So no, that's still I can see still the parallel though, because
Right.
these 10 brethren is what Joseph said. You all meant it for the evil, and why have you rewarded evil for good? And so those 10 that was said to them, even though it was 12 sons, those 10 that were said to be spies, had an evil report. And so even when 12 spies were sent to the land to spy it out, you had 10 that brought back the evil report. So I could still see the parallel in that.
Yeah, because they did tell them, they've been holding on to this lie that a beast had devoured Joseph all these years, which is really a false report when they really sold him down into bondage and whatnot.
Right, and what made it evil was because their unbelief. They did not believe the dream that he had gave unto them. Same thing with the children of Israel. It was evil because they didn't believe that Yahweh.
Right. Right.
Okay, I can see that. Did I see a couple hands being raised? Right.
I'm sorry. Having technical difficulties. I saw, I don't know, refresh my memory. Moses was weaned when he was given back to Pharaoh's daughter. So when is a child weaned? When they're 3 or take them out?
1 year.
1 year? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was thinking it was 3 that he was, totally weaned. And then just before he's 40, that would have made 36, 37 years. And I was looking at Moses being up in the mount. It's all scrambled in my brain, but he was up there initially for the 7 and then the 33. And it's off. That's not according to the pattern. Never mind.
That's all right. A year. Same thing with Isaac. He was weaned. He was a year old when he was weaned. That's how you get the whole age difference between Isaac and Ishmael. It was a year. And then Ishmael was 15 when he was cast out. So he was 14 when Isaac was born. And once he was weaned, then that's when he was cast out. So you got a year for them being weaned.
I got you.
Yep. Good question, though. All right. Anybody else? All right. Got a few more chapters to go. Who wants to read 46 for me?
I can read 46.
Okay.
And Israel took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices unto the ill of his father Isaac. And Elohim spake unto Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am ill, the ill of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again, and Joseph shall put his hand upon thine eyes. And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father, and their little ones, and their wives in the wagons, which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and their goods, which they had gotten in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his seed brought he with him into Egypt. And these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt: Jacob and his sons, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and the sons of Reuben, Hanok and Phalu and Hezron and Carmi, and the sons of Simeon, Jamil and Jamin and Ohad and Jachin and Zohar and Shaul and the son of a Canaanitish woman, and the sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari, and the sons of Judah, and Onan and Shelah and Pharez and Zara. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Pharez were Hezron and Hamul. And the sons of Issachar, Tola and Fuva, and Job and Shimron. And the sons of Zebulun, Sered and Elon and Jalil. These be the sons of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob in Padan Aram, with his daughter Dinah. All the souls of his sons and his daughters were 33. And the sons of Gad, Ziphion and Hagi, Shunai and Isban, Eri and Arodi and Areli. And the sons of Asher, Jimnah and Isui, and Bariah and Sarah, their sister, and the sons of Bariah, Heber and Machiel. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter, and these she bare unto Jacob, even 16 souls. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. And unto Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, which ascended the daughter of Potiphera, priest of Onber, unto him. And the sons of Benjamin were Bela and Becher, and Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, and Rosh, Muppim, and Huppim, and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel, which were born to Jacob. All the souls were 14. And the sons of Dan, Husham, and the sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, and Guni, and Jezer, and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, which Laban gave unto Rachel his daughter, and she bare these unto Jacob. All the souls were 7. All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins. Besides Jacob's sons' wives, all the souls were 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 10. And he sent Judah before him unto Joseph to direct his face unto Goshen, and they came into the land of Goshen. And Joseph made ready his chariot, and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen, and presented himself unto him. And he fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said unto Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren and unto his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, My brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me. And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle, and they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. And it shall come to pass when Pharaoh shall call you and shall say, what is your occupation? That ye shall say, thy servant's trade has been about cattle from our youth even until now, both we and also our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
All right, Genesis 46 chapter. Thank you, Emperor. All right, you guys got anything from this one that you saw that you want to share?
I just saw that
Anything?
the sons of Rachel, they were all the souls were 7 in perfection, and you know that he worked for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I also saw I remember what it is. Somebody else can go. I have to find it again.
Mm-hmm. Actually, the sons of Rachel were 14. He actually worked 14 years for Rachel. I think you were looking at 7 was going to be, I think, Rachel's handmaid. Remember, he worked 7 years for Rachel, and then he got Leah. He worked 7 more years for Rachel, and then he got Rachel. So her sons were actually 14. So 22nd verse.
Yeah, the
These are
22nd
the
verse.
sons of Rachel was born to Jacob. All souls were 14. The 7 years that he worked for her the first time, and the other 7 years. So that's pretty very good. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. Anything else? Anybody else got anything else? All right. Uh-oh. Okay. We go to the next chapter. Genesis 47. We got a few more to go. Let's see. Then Joseph came and told, and I am going to address Elohim, while we're saying Elohim instead of God. I will address that shortly. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, my father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan. And behold, they are in the land of Goshen. And he took some of his brethren, even 5 men, and presented them unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto his brethren, what is your occupation? And they said unto Pharaoh, thy servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. They said, moreover unto Pharaoh, for to sojourn in the land are we come. For thy servants have no pasture for their flocks, for the famine is sore in the land of Canaan. Now therefore we pray thee, let thy servants dwell in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh spake unto Joseph, saying, thy father and thy brethren are come unto thee. The land of Egypt is before thee. In the best of the land make thy father and brethren to dwell. In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if thou knowest any men of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. And Joseph brought in Jacob his father and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob, how old art thou? And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from before Pharaoh. And Joseph placed his father and his brethren and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren and all his father's household with bread according to their families. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, and the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought some money into Pharaoh's house. And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. And Joseph said, give me your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fails. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. When that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, will we not hide it from my master, how that our money is spent? My master also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my master, but our bodies and our land. Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field because the famine prevailed over them, so the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end thereof. Only the land of the priests bought he not. For the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them. Wherefore they sold not their land. Then Joseph said unto the people, Behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the increase that ye shall give the fifth part unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own, for seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your household, and for food for your little ones. And they said, Thou hast saved our lives. Let us find grace in thy sight, of my master, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt unto this day, that Pharaoh should have the 5th part, except the land of the priests only, which became Mount Pharaoh's. And Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, so the whole age of Jacob was 147 years. And they drew nigh that Israel must die, and he called his son Joseph, and said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray thee, in Egypt, but I will lie with my fathers, and thou shalt carry me out of Egypt, and bury me in their burying place. And he said, I will do as thou hast said. And he said, Swear unto me. And he sware unto him. And Israel bowed himself upon the bed's head. Genesis 47th chapter. All right. Anything with this one? Write that down. 17 years in Egypt. Anything in this one, guys? Anybody? A lot of ground to cover. I ain't gonna fuss. I was so quiet tonight. Goodness gracious, where's my normal group? Okay. All right. Who wants to read 48 for me?
I got it. 48.
Okay. Thank you.
Genesis 48th chapter. And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, Behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob and said, Behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto his father, Jacob said unto Joseph, El Shaddai appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, Behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. And now thy 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee unto Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. And thy issue, which thou begettest after them, shall be thine, and shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance. And as for me, when I came unto Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way, when yet there was but a little way to come into Ephrath. And I buried her there in the land of Ephrath, the same as Bethel. And Israel beheld Joseph's sons and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, They are my sons, whom Elohim hath given me in this place. And he said, bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not hoped to see thy face, and lo, Elohim hath showed me also thy seed. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hands willingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, Elohim, before whom my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, did walk, the Elohim which fed me all my life long unto this day, the angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac. And let them swarm as fish swarm in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. And he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, not so, my father, for this is the firstborn, put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. And he also shall become a people, and he also shall be great, but his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a fullness of nations. And he blessed them that day, saying, in thee shall Israel bless, saying, Elohim make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, behold, I die, but Elohim shall be with you and bring you again unto the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to thee one portion above thy brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow. That was Genesis 48th chapter.
Very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Anybody have anything with the 48th chapter that you want to share?
Just, I just want to say everything that we've read so far, including this chapter, is just so many parallels with Yahshua the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so many, I can't even name them all really. But, but first, how, there's 12 tribes of Israel, there's 12 sons of Jacob, but not all 12 sons are named in the inheritance. And you see how that transpired with Ephraim and Manasseh being taken in as, as Jacob has said, as Reuben and Simon are mine, so shall Ephraim and Manasseh be mine. So, they became two of the tribes of the inheritance there. You also see there, even in the last verse, where he talked about he gave him one portion above thy brethren. And, that's likened unto Yahshua, like, for instance, you got that, it's likened unto a double portion. You see that same principle transpire with Elisha when he received the double portion. Yeah, Elijah and Elisha. He received a double portion. And then Yahshua Messiah, in fulfillment of that, you got to see him looking like, receiving like a double portion when he was baptized with John the Baptist in the river. He is the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit, he had to see that a double portion in principle, the Holy Spirit descend upon him, you know what I mean, at that baptism. And just some, overall, just some real pretty principles lining up there. But that's all I wanted to say.
Mhm. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? 48th chapter.
One thing, I look in this 10th verse, now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. So we see even from a natural standpoint, it's not your physical eye that you see this revelation with, because Israel went on to tell him, look, I know my son, I know what I'm doing. So it has nothing to do with your physical eye. It's your spiritual eye. He said, I know what I'm doing. That he shall be, it is written, he shall be, the elder shall serve the younger, but he's going to have his portion. So this is when you come into the realization that Yahweh actually knows what he's doing through whatever vessel he's doing it in. He knows exactly what he's doing. Like I said, with this double portion with, that's how Joseph, it said Joseph got more than else. This is how Joseph got, this was a manifestation, okay, of how Joseph got a double portion, because it took two of his sons, his two sons, and they got, so Joseph actually did. He got a double portion, like Mike was just saying. When you see it, then that is actually, in that actuality, that is that double portion. From a spiritual standpoint, you get a double portion of this. And you always just showed all the way through that even in the previous chapters, how he's working each event. Because just like Joseph had told them in chapters before then, you're going to have to bow down to me. And that's what came to pass, to show you that Yahweh's word is steadfast, that whatever he said, is actually what's going to come, is actually what's going to come to pass. So I thought that was pretty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Yep. Very good. Okay. Anybody else? All right, got 4 more chapters to go, and I'll explain the titles, and we'll be good. All right, 49th chapter. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defoulest thou it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation. O my soul, come not thou into their secret. Unto their assembly, mine honor, be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they digged down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Yes. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemy. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Yes. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. That's right. Binding his foal unto the vine, binding his foal, goodness, unto the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, goodness, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. The milk, oh my goodness. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his borders shall be unto Zidon. Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for thy salvation, O Yahweh. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Out of Asher, his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well, whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him, and shot at him, and hated him. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty Elohim of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, even by the Elohim of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings of the breast and of the womb. And the blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors, unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. Benjamin shall ravin as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is it, that their father spake unto them, and blessed them, every one according to his blessing he blessed them. And he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite for a possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and of the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. And when Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed and yielded up the ghost and was gathered unto his people. Genesis 49th chapter. Goodness. Anybody want to go first?
Well, I'll just say that was heavy.
Yeah. Woo.
It was very heavy. Some of the things that jumped out was with Judah, how the scepter should not depart from Judah. And that's the kingship tribe, and the scepter is what, denoting, royalty, kingship there. And the mention of Shiloh, talks about until Shiloh come, and that's referencing the Messiah. But I'll cut it off there because Michael's about to get pretty.
Pop his little mouth. Okay. All right. Anybody else? All right, so let's go through. So when Jacob began to tell his sons what's going to happen to them in the last days, Reuben first, he said, Reuben was his firstborn, but he shall not excel because he went up to his father's bed and defiled it. Remember when he laid with Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid, his father's concubine? And so if we know the story, once they got, ready to go over to Canaan land to possess it, Reuben, his inheritance was not in Canaan land. He received his inheritance on this side of Jordan. He was not able to go over and get an inheritance in Canaan land. It was Reuben, Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh, and they got their portion on this side of Canaan land. But anyway, and then Simeon and Levi, instruments of cruelty, when Hamath, I think it was, had laid with Dinah, their sister. He loved her and he wanted to marry her. Simeon and Levi are the ones that deceitfully dealt with them, saying, okay, we'll give you our daughters if you guys be circumcised first. And so they made them circumcise the whole household. And while the men were sore, they went and killed all of them. And so that's what he was talking about, Simeon and Levi being instruments of cruelty and let not his soul come into their secret, and about their anger and stuff like that. And then with Judah is the kingship tribe, the fourth son of Jacob. And that is the lineage that Joshua came through, the lineage of Judah, the kingship tribe. And said, thou art whom thy brethren shall praise. That was talking about Joshua. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Every knee shall bow. Every tongue shall confess to the glory of Yahshua the Messiah. Judah is a lion's whelp. And that was actually his banner. The children of Israel, they had those 4 banners. And that was Judah's banner, was the lion. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. You stoop down, you cast down his lions. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. And so the people are going to be gathered unto him. It's talking about the Messiah still, until Shiloh come, or until Yahshua come, to Yahshua, the death, burial, resurrection of Yahshua. Binding his foal unto the vine. Yahshua said, I am the vine, ye are the branches. Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. Let's talk about the blood of Messiah. His eyes should be red with wine over the soul, and his teeth white with milk. And the milk is the law and the prophets. The milk shall make his teeth white. His teeth be white with milk. And so that's all he did, was expound unto them the things written of him in the law and in the prophets. So forth and so on. So he went through all this with all 12 of his sons, so forth and so on. And as soon as he was done, he went ahead and yielded the spirit, or he died or passed away. Anybody else with this chapter?
I just have a
Anybody?
question. I know before we talked about, when we were talking about blood, water, spirit principles with the grapes, I remember us pointing it out. Is that like blood?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That would be a blood principle. Yep. Yep. All right. Anybody else got any questions or comments for the 49th chapter? Amber, you want to read the 50th chapter for me?
Yeah, I read it. Okay. And Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept upon him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, there shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father, according as he made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph, and his brethren, and his father's house. Only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan. And here they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. For his sons carried him into the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field for a possession of a burying place of Ephron the Hittite before Mamre. And Joseph returned into Egypt, he and his brethren, and all that went up with him to bury his father, after he had buried his father. And when Joseph's brethren saw that their father was dead, they said, It may be that Joseph will hate us, and will fully requite us all the evil which we did unto him. And they sent a messenger unto Joseph, saying, Thy father did command before he died, saying, So shall ye say unto Joseph, Forgive, I pray thee now, the trespass of thy brethren, and their sin, for they did unto thee evil. And now we pray thee, forgive the trespass of the servants of the ill of thy father. And Joseph wept when they spake unto him. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face, and they said, Behold, we be thy servants. And Joseph said unto them, Fear not, for am I in the place of Elohim? But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but Elohim meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now therefore fear ye not, I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted them, and spake kindly unto them. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of third generations. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up unto Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die. And Elohim will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, Elohim will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt.
Very good, thank you. Genesis 50th chapter. All right, anybody got anything for this chapter that they want to share?
You know, it just clicked in my head. Joseph died at 110 years old. And when we say in the first chapter, 15th chapter, First Corinthians, how that the gospel is talking about how Yahshua died and buried and resurrected again on that third day. We look at Joshua, the book of Joshua, which you know is really Joshua, and he laid his life down at 110, and Joseph being that being a type of Joshua, it just clicked in my head with that 110 years old.
Very good. I saw that too. That's good. Okay. Anybody else?
I didn't see a principle, but I just saw, I guess this was just something for me. hmm With the, what verse is it? Where he said that you meant it for evil. Mm, but he meant it for good. And that's just something that y'all has been showing us in class recently. That you can't look at people, places, and things, even if you feel like their intentions are to be evil. Yahweh allows it so that something good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought they were hurting
Mm-hmm.
him, when really it was something good for him in the end.
Right. I think that was when Joseph was speaking in class a couple of weeks ago. Or the word skepticism, and it talks about false causation. Yahweh is the cause of everything, and so and superstition is another word. So anytime something comes up, and you're looking at anything else causing that situation besides Yahweh, then that's skepticism or that's superstition. Because that's a false causation. Yahweh is the cause and effect of all things. So yeah, very good. Very, very good. Okay. Anybody else? 2 more chapters to go.
Also, when Joseph told him to take his bones up out of Egypt, don't leave them there. This is his father said the bones are representing our souls. So he didn't want to leave his soul, but not leave his soul in, I can't think of the name, Hades, I think it is. It's in the scriptures. Don't leave my soul in Sheol.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. Also, it said Elohim will surely visit you. Elohim will surely visit you. And we look at how Elohim truly came to visit them in the 3rd chapter of Exodus. He came down to, well, he actually visited them before that, but he came down to deliver them. Very good. Anybody else? 2 more chapters to go. Who wants to read the 1st chapter of Exodus for us?
I got it.
It's a short one. Thank you.
I got it. Exodus 1st chapter. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all their generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and grew exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore he did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. And the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard labor in mortar and in brick and in all manner of work in the field. All their work wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And the king of Egypt spake unto the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the office of midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon their birth stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim and did not, as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the male children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are active and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Therefore, Elohim dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he prospered their households. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. Exodus 1st chapter.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Anybody got anything in this chapter?
I mean, just like with the others, you got blood, water, spirit principles. And even in the other writings, other readings that we read earlier, they may not have been contained right there solely in the same chapter, but they were scattered abroad. But I mean, everything that we read is saturated with, the blood, water, spirit principles testifying of, Joshua. And you had that in this chapter with, the death decree being put out and being, wanting them to cast them into the river, and even with spirit, with Yahweh dealing, dealt good with the midwives because they believed them. You know what I mean? They feared Yahweh rather than Pharaoh's commandment, and they were rewarded because of it.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
I was looking at the fact of it said that they just increased through the tribulation and the hardship that they were going through. They increased. And it makes me think about when Paul said, I rejoice in tribulation, because in that tribulation, there is growth. I would look at it like rain. Without rain, there's no growth. It's necessary, sun, but definitely rain causes growth. So in that tribulation that we go through, it causes us to grow in whatever it is. It causes us to grow in forgiveness. It causes us to grow and increase in compassion. And when he said all things work to the good of them that love Yahweh, it does. And he showed example there with Joseph that there is growth and is good in all things that we go through. It's good. And it's nothing to fear of man. It said they didn't fear Pharaoh, but they feared Yahweh. They feared him, so they were obedient to what thus saith Yahweh, as we should be, that regardless of what, not fearing any man or anything, when we come to the true understanding that Yahweh is controlling it all anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good. All right. Anybody else?
One thing, this is one of the first things that we talk about the nuggets that Yahweh has given us through this individual journey that we're going through to come to a perfection of this knowledge and understanding. And one of the first things that I can recall was this 9th verse. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. They already were multiplied. They had already multiplied. And if it come to pass that when there falls out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. But you just said they were already more and mightier. So it wasn't that they needed anything, so to say, outside of them. They didn't need anything outside of them. It was already there. This is one of the very first things I can remember Yahweh really revealing to me. They said, you multiply, they are more and mightier. So they already have multiplied. So that's what this knowledge does. It multiplies and multiplies so that when war does break out, that you are able to stand. Israel stood alone and by themselves, by the word of Yahweh, same way we do. It's the spirit of wisdom, intelligence, knowledge that's in us that we stand in, that makes us more and mighty already. You just have to come to the consciousness of it. So therefore, when it got over to Shiphrah and Puah, they already had it in them. No, we're going to fear Elohim. Yeah. We're going to let y'all have it. Israel, the women, they're just active. They're lively. So when we get to them, they've already, and this is what you talk about, fearing Yahweh rather than man. And we've heard it, all these examples, people saying, even in several of the lectures of Dr. Kinley, where they beat him up and say, now you take it back, you take that back. It's who? Whoever that is, the prophet or somebody. No, I'm not taking this back. Whatever you're going to do, you may as well do it. May as well do it quick. No, we're not taking this back. So it's a spirit in you that is more, and it is mightier. So you can stand up to Pharaoh, which is Yahweh showed us, that satanic spirit. You stand up to it, and it will flee. I'm telling you. It will flee. If you call on the name of Yahweh, just a personal thing right now. Last night I had this dream. And I used to be whenever I dreamed about dogs chasing me, I would fly. I would take off flying. And I had this dog chasing me last night. And I had a towel. What I see and remember, I had a white towel in my hand. And this dog just, and I just wrapped him up and hit him with this towel in the name of Yahweh. I'm talking about in my dream. And that dog just, boom, left me alone. So I'm talking about even in your sleep. This is true what Yahweh has given us. That dog stopped barking and he went on his way. I'm talking in my sleep because I woke up and I knew what I woke up out of it and I knew what I had dreamed, and it just sends chills over you. Gosh, that I called on Yahweh and the dog left me alone. I mean, he was going to get me too. He had all kinds of teeth in his mouth, but Yahweh made him stop. So that's what I'm saying. All of this, my favorite thing, work to your good. Works to your good. Like the speaker just said, it works to your good. It really does.
Yep. Greater is he that is in you than he that's in the world.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. Very good. Okay. Anybody else got anything on the first chapter of Exodus before we do the last chapter? All right. I'll do the last chapter real quick, and then I'll give you guys the assignment, and then I'll go ahead and explain the titles after I give you guys the assignment in case anybody wants to jump off. All right, Exodus, the second chapter, is the last chapter for tonight. And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and dabbed it with lime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. And her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, Because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his Hebrew brethren, and looked on their burden. And he spied an Egyptian fighting Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did wrong, Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? And intendest thou to kill me, as thou killed the Egyptian yesterday? Oh, he didn't say yesterday, excuse me, killed the Egyptian. And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel their father, he said, How is it that you have come so soon today? And they said, An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. And he said unto his daughters, And where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him that he may eat bread. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom. For he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage. And they cried, and their cry came up unto Elohim by reason of the bondage. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And Elohim looked upon the children of Israel, and Elohim had respect unto them. Exodus, the 2nd chapter. All right, anything in this chapter?
My mind is back on the first chapter. It's something that struck me, if I may go back there, with Pharaoh trying to destroy all the male children. The thought came in my head that there was war in heaven. It happened in the spiritual first, and there was a woman clothed with a son, and that dragon was standing before her, waiting for her child to be born to devour him, just as Pharaoh was down in Egypt, the Pharaoh that did not know Joseph. And the woman did deliver that son, and Yahweh caught him up to him. It's allegory, but Yahweh caught him up to him. And that chapter, the first chapter, Exodus, just reminded me of that pattern or that death, burial, resurrection, or Yahweh's purpose, bringing the creation down, bringing man down and bringing him back up, saving that soul by that, his begotten son, you got to go back to him. You're coming out through Elohim or the Son, and you're going back in through Yahshua the Son. It just made me think of Satan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're on the 12th chapter of Revelation?
Yes, in the 12th chapter of Revelation made me think of Pharaoh in the first chapter of Exodus.
Oh,
Because we know he's
I
the
got
type
you.
of Satan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I got you. All right. Anybody else?
More death, burial, resurrection principles and blood, water, spirit, 40 principles. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, it's all throughout the reading. Just to save time, I don't have to get into it, but it's all there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you
I
have the
just
death,
want,
burial, and resurrection. Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that my Holy Name Bible says, instead of respect in the last verse, it says cognizant. And I looked up cognizant, and it says knowledge or awareness or notice.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because he was right down there with them.
mhm.
Okay. And so one of the death, burial, resurrection principles in the three that Dr. Carter was talking about was Moses, the death decree was sent out to kill the male Hebrew children, and then him being buried in the ark, and then Pharaoh's daughter having him resurrect out of the ark. One thing that I've mentioned a lot sometimes too, it says his sister was just, waiting to see what would happen to the child. And so once he's resurrected, his sister was right there, and his sister's name just so happened to be Miriam. And when Yahshua resurrects on the third day, in the fulfillment of it, you had to have Miriam there to see what would become of him. And then, of course, after after he killed the Egyptian, buried in the sand, so forth and so on, he fled to Midian, and he had the 7 women at the well, just like Yahshua, he had met the woman at the well that had the 7 husbands, and so many other different principles, and so many other things that he fulfilled in here too. But those are some of the things that stood out. But for the sake of time, I won't go too deep off into it. Second chapter, 18th verse, their father's name is Royal. So in third chapter, it says Jethro, but of course there was no J back then, so his name was actually Royal, the priest of Midian. And then he had a son named Gershom, so forth and so on. All right. After the time, the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel died by reason of bondage. So the king that wanted to kill Moses died. We have that in the second chapter, 23rd verse. And so Yahweh tells Moses in the next, when we read in the third chapter of Exodus, all that sought your life are dead, Moses, because Pharaoh had died in the process of time. All right. Anything else? All right. Cool. So we are completed with Moses' 3 trips into the mount. We have read everything in order that it happened and he was shown. And so what I want you guys to do for the next class assignment is go back and study your notes, go back and study these chapters that we've read. And next class we'll have testimonies where we'll do about 10, 15 minutes each and pass the baton. So the first week we'll pick up in the third chapter of Exodus in order the events that happened, no correlating, just events. And then the next person picks up where they left off, pick up anything they left. So we're going to do it in order that we've read it in, the order that it actually happened. See if you guys have retained the things that we've been reading over the last few several classes that we've had. So the assignment is to go back and recap and study, and we'll have open source testimonies next time we meet in 2 weeks. 2 weeks to study, and then so on. If you guys want to participate in the private lessons class, that's the class that we've been having lately, that every other Thursday now. So it won't be this Thursday, it'll be next Thursday. But the assignment for this one, these are the definitions here. If you want to screenshot it and start on it, you can. What we're supposed to read, the pamphlet, Preaching and Teaching in the Name, and do a 10-minute report on the pamphlet. And we have some other research questions and things like that for that, and then a couple of definitions to look up. So y'all can screenshot that. It'll be cool. We're pretty much done with class, but I do want to answer a question that I received about why do we say Elohim when instead of God? And so I want to address that real quick. If you got somewhere to go, you can go ahead and jump off. We'll do the doxology afterwards. But I do want to address that question. So if any of you remember that we're in a private lessons class and we shared it in class not too long ago, we had a couple of definitions to look up, and it was translate and transliterate. I won't look it up for the sake of time, but I'll give you the definitions of it again. You can always look it up for yourself. So translate, to give you the simple terms, to translate a word means that you take a word in one language, and whatever that word means in that language, you find an equivalent word that means the same thing in the language that you're translating that word in. For example, if I say un, in French, un means one. And so if I translate un in English, I'm going to translate it to one. Okay, so you got translate. To transliterate something means that you take a word in one language, you take the letters of that word, not necessarily the meaning, but the letters of that word, and you try to find corresponding letters to match those letters in the language that you're actually transliterating it to. So transliterate means to take the letters to correspond with the same letters in a different language. Translate means take the same meaning and use a word that means the same thing in a different language. So that's the two words. So it's important to know that. And so in Nehemiah 7:6 and also 9:6, different parts of the Bible, we see that Yahweh chose the children of Israel to be a special people unto him, to bring them to himself. And Moses was the first person that Yahweh revealed his name to. So he dealt with the Hebrew people, or the Jews, and the Jews only back at that time, as far as that goes. That being said, when he revealed his name to Moses at the burning bush, Moses being a Hebrew, he spoke to Moses in Hebrew. All of the prophets, they were Hebrew. Moses wrote the first 5 books. The first 5 books of the Bible are attributed to his writing. So all of the original texts of the scriptures, which are the law and the prophets, or from Genesis to Malachi, were originally written in Hebrew. And so when Israel had the scriptures and they were in bondage, they were in different parts, in bondage to different nations, like Babylon. They were in bondage to Babylon with the Assyrians and things like that. Wherever they were at the time, whenever they would read their scriptures, because they were reading their scriptures looking for the Messiah. And so they were reading their scriptures, and as they were reading, they would substitute Yahweh's name and his title Elohim and his son's name. They would substitute the scriptures for the local deities or the local gods in the area where they were at. And so they never took Yahweh's name out of the scriptures, but they substituted his name. And so they would write the name of the gods of the local deities or local gods in that area above Yahweh's name, or above the Tetragrammaton. And so in Hebrew language, I'll show you on this chart real quick. In the Hebrew language, the Tetragrammaton is what the translators saw translating the scripture. So you have in Hebrew reads from right to left. You have a Yod He, Wad He. The Tetragrammaton was the only thing that was transliterated. Everything else was translated, if that makes sense. And then, of course, they transliterated Jesus. Now, the reason why is because names do not translate. You can transliterate names, but they don't translate. Proper names are not supposed to be translated. So when you have the Yod He, Wad He in Hebrew, the transliteration of the Tetragrammaton, to transliterate this into English, a Yod is the same as a Y in English. He is the same as a H in English, so forth and so on. So you have YHWH is what the original Hebrew text is for Yahweh's name. Now, Israel felt that Yahweh's name was too sacred to utter. They substituted his name for the local deities and local gods. And so that's where the Holy Name Bible's preface comes in at. So when we read the Holy Name Bible's preface, the preface of the Holy Name Bible, if you don't have a Holy Name Bible, you can always go to Google and you can Google preface of the Holy Name Bible. The very first thing that pops up is yain.org, yain.org. Click on that and it pulls up the preface of the Holy Name Bible for you. Part number 4, the sacred names, explains what happened or how those false or wrong names and titles got in the English text in the first place. So in 1611, King James Stewart, the King of England at the time, was considered insane, and he was gay. But he commissioned 70 scholars to translate the Bible or the scriptures into English, the English language. And so those translators, if you're going to translate something, you take the words in one language to mean that whatever the meaning of those words is, you replace it with the word that means the same thing in English. And so that's how, so let me explain that then. So in the Sacred Names and the Holy Name Bible's preface, it says, another common error among most of the translators is their elimination of heaven's revealed name of the Most High, Yahweh, and the name of his son, Yahshua the Messiah, and substituting the names of the local deities of the nations among whom they dwelt. Psalms 96 and 5 expressly transgressing Yahweh's commandments and as given in Exodus 20 and 7 and 23:13. They weren't supposed to take his name in vain, and they were not supposed to even make mention of other gods at all. And so they transgressed that. So he's explained it. So for Yahweh, they substituted Baal, which was the Babylonian god at the time, and Adonai, which was the Canaanite god of the Phoenicians. So when they were in Babylon, they substituted Yahweh's name for Baal. When they were in Canaan, they substituted Yahweh's name for Adonai, both corresponding to the English word Lord. So Adonai in the Canaanite language means Lord. Baal in Babylonian language means Lord, because in England, a Lord is a title, it's not a name. And so instead of them transliterating Adonai or Baal, they translated it and then took the meaning of Baal and Adonai and translated it to Lord. And so whenever you see Lord, we say Yahweh, because that's what they substituted Yahweh's name for. Not the translators. Israel substituted Yahweh's name, but the translators, instead of them using the original text, they used the substitutions and translated the substitutions instead. Now, the characteristic appellation of the Most High, Elohim, they substituted, it was substituted by the Assyrian deity, Gawd, G-A-W-D. Now, Gawd in Assyrian means God. And so in English, they translated Gawd to God. But now in English, God is a title. And so they translated that word instead of transliterating it. And so they took that substitution and they put God in English instead of Elohim. And is repudiated by Yahweh in Isaiah 65:11, which reads as follows. But ye are they that forsake Yahweh, that forgot my holy mountain, and furnish a table for God, and furnish a drink offering to many. No wonder the people of Scotland and some parts of northern England celebrate the Hogmanay, which in Hebrew means the feast of the god many, on New Year's Eve with the fellowship drink for good luck. The name of the son, Yahshua, they substituted by Jesus, but back then, the children of Israel, there's no J in Hebrew, so the children of Israel substituted his name for Iesus in Latin, or Iesus, and Azus, Easeus, which means healing Zeus. And since that is a name, the translators transliterated the Iesus, because if they had translated that name, because the names can't translate, that was actually a name. If they translated that name, then it would be earth pig is what you would have, because the prefix JE or IE, the JE means earth and SUS means pig in English, but they transliterated the name Jesus, and they did the corresponding letters IESUS in English. And when the J came about later on, they put the tail on the I, and that's how you have Jesus in the Bible instead of Yahshua, because they substituted Yahshua's name for Jesus or for Jesus in the original script. So when the translators saw the substitution, they transliterated Yahshua's, they transliterated Jesus. And so that's how those names and titles got in the English, or the King James Version of the Bible. And it talks about the substitution of the names of Yahweh and Yahshua by the names of the pagan deities of the nations has brought immeasurable harm. Such names as Lord, God, Jesus, and Christ in no way represent the meaning of the name that revealed by the Most High to Moses and the ancient Hebrew people. And so that's why when we read the King James Version of the Bible and we see God, we automatically put the right title there, which is Elohim, because that's what was substituted for Elohim was God. So we just put it back in there. So that's why we say Elohim instead of saying God, because God was translated from all that. So we do have a way to actually purchase the Holy Name Bibles. And so what I'll do, I think, Dr. Carter or Miranda, do you guys know if we have the application or the what's it called on our website where you can actually purchase the Holy Name Bible? Is that on our website already? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know if it's there or not, but there should be one. I usually get it from Shirley or David, and get when last time I got mine ordered. Yeah.
Okay. Send me your email address, and then I can send you the information to order a Holy Name Bible, because I thought we had it on our website. If not, we'll put it up there. But for right now, just send me your email address, and then I'll send that to you. Okay.
And just for whoever asked the question, just so they know that this school is not responsible for that Bible, for the publishing of that Bible. We use that Bible because we use the Holy Name Bible because the names have been put back in. But that's not a Bible that we conjured up or we came up with. That's not what it is.
Very good. That's right.
It's if you Google Yahshua Promotions, they got the order info there.
Yahshua Promotions. Okay, YahshuaPromotions.org. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I see your order form. Yep. All right, cool. So yeah, go to YahshuaPromotions.org and click on order form. You can just order it from there. That'd be perfect. Awesome. Okay. All right, so YahshuaPromotions.org, and you can order the Holy Name Bible. I think also you can order the textbook too from them as well, the Elohim book that we use too. Or you can always pull it up on our website, the digital copy of it, of the Elohim book. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, cool. All right, so we have regular class, lecture-based classes, Sunday and Wednesdays. Sunday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for both. It's the same Zoom link for both classes. It is streamed live on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Meridian Soul, SOHL, standing for School of Dynamic Learning. And then every other Monday, we do have a Basics and Foundation class. Class starts at 7 p.m. It ends at 9 p.m. Central Time every other Monday. There's a separate Zoom link for that class, but we do stream live on YouTube for that class. And then every other opposite Thursday of the Basics and Foundation class, we have the private lessons class from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. That class is recorded, but it is not posted. If you want to join our classes or anything like that, if you don't have my phone number to text me, you can always send us an email at meridiansoul, SOHL, @gmail.com or idmrmeridianms@gmail.com. Our website is soulfood.org. On this website, we have a lot of really good information just on the chart sections and pamphlets tab alone. We have all the charts, we have the transcripts, pamphlets, the Elohim book is here, the audio lectures of Dr. Kinley, some video lectures, study material, glossary, and then all of the conference calls that we've had. Instead of having to dial the number to listen to them, you just go to the website, click on them, and listen to the audio version of the conference calls too. That was another thing with our assignment for next Thursday. One of the research questions, because the assignment was we had to come up with different questions for our peers, and one of the questions is, what is heaven? Is it a physical or spiritual destination? Prove it. And so one of the suggestions was to go back to listen to the conference calls we had a long time ago. We covered that topic. What is heaven is going to be call number 36 on the website. So if you want to click on it and listen to that, I think Dr. Allen was involved too at the time, given his wisdom and knowledge on the subject as well. So that would be a good class to listen to. If there are no other questions, we'll conclude with a doxology taken from the last 2 verses of the book of Jude. All right. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. To the only wise Elohim, our Savior, through Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, alone glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and ever. Let everyone say hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. All
Good
right.
night, everybody.
Enjoy you guys. Thank y'all. Good
Thank you.
night.
Good night.